Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 382 for the 12th of March for the Ukraine war or the special military operation in Ukraine. And for those that are new to this channel, it's time to subscribe and press the like button, because this is the standing order of the DPA army. You're now part of the DPA army, so you have no choice. You have to listen to me. So let's start off with the biggest breakthrough or biggest news in Ukraine right now is actually the breakthrough in the north of the Bakhmut Front. So in the Bakhmut Front, in this region here, around Orikhovo-Vasylivka and Zaporizhzhia, the Russian forces, specifically the WAGNER forces, have managed to make bigger breakthrough. Previously, the line is around something like this, and they now have expanded their control, and this push out from the highway and towards Orikhovo-Vasylivka is not comes without like warning. Yesterday we have some rumors that the Orikhovo-Vasylivka has been captured, according to a pro-Russian source, Military Chronicles. This information has been debunked by multiple primary sources that I follow, and the current situation is that the Russians instead from this line have expanded out into the western part of Zaporizhzhia, and they also continue to push across towards Minkivka, which is the Ukrainian position where they have their operational or forward operating base around this area, and their currently fighting is close to Minkivka, and this information is corroborated by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, as they say that they repelled Russian attacks in the area of Minkivka. So this is the first time Minkivka has seen fighting, or at least near it, in terms of reporting, and the fighting now is on the western part of Zaporizhzhia, which is pretty concerning for the Ukrainian side, because with this push, the Russian forces can the Russian forces can push to the rear, and this will actually have to will force the Ukrainians to have to withdraw from this position into the wide open area behind of Zaporizhzhia. And the Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, actually this is not Deep State UA. Surya Maps actually reported, which is a neutral source, reported that the Russian forces have expanded their control around this area here, and Deep State UA also, the pro-Ukrainian source, also acknowledged that the front line is actually something like this. However, the pro-Russian source Ryba actually reported, they did not report this, but the Ryba actually don't have this information. However, they said that the Russian forces have broke through into the southern part of Orikhovo-Vasylivka, and they are now fighting within this area here, within Orikhovo-Vasylivka, and there is some seeming information that seems to suggest that the Russian forces is clearing up this area here. Let me clear. So as you can see, Ryba reported that they have, after failing their attempts to attack, finally broke through the fields in the south of the village, and in their mapping they actually shows that they have break into at least the southern half of Orikhovo-Vasylivka. The certain other sources, the way they write it, seems to suggest that Orikhovo-Vasylivka seems to be largely controlled by the Russian forces, and they are currently doing clearing operations. So I don't think that's the case, but situation is definitely looking pretty bad for the Ukrainian forces at this area here. Nearby, the Russian forces also attacking Vasyukivka, but there's nothing much to talk about. The fighting at Zaporizhzhia is reported by Deep State UA. Whereas the one on the west, as I said, is by Surya Maps, and then the one on the north is by this is by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So in the other parts of the Bakhmut Front, we also have other breaking situation. We have some geolocation of Russian forces by Deep State UA, which actually changed the front line a bit, and also here the most significant one is actually the one at Bodanivka. So the one near at Bodanivka actually is really near It's merely just around less than a kilometers away from Bodanivka, and the Russian forces is actually in the video entrenching in this position here. They are entrenching themselves. The Ukrainian forces actually bombarded them, but this is not going to do much because the Russian forces will just continue to reinforce in this area, and this is also coincide with Deep State UA reporting the fighting at Bodanivka, which means that the Russian forces actually have a pretty close control in this area here, and they are definitely trying to push into Bodanivka itself. So this is the other major situation, and the other major situation over at the Bakhmut Front is actually around Ivanivske. The Russian forces are reportedly fighting between towards the highway between Ivanivske and Bakhmut, which is actually this important highway here, and the Russian forces currently pushing in this direction between these two regions where the Ukrainian forces actually have their defense, and this is going to be rather difficult for them to defend. And the forces or the Wagner forces are not only doing from here, they are also attacking from this direction on the western part of Ivanivske towards the highway in this area here, towards the highway here, which is in the same attempt to actually break this highway connection. This highway is moving towards Konstantinivka, and on top of that, there is also fighting reported at Ivanivske according to the information from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. The fighting here is reported by Ryba, same information on these two sides. So the Ukrainian forces is definitely under severe pressure in these fronts here. And over at the Bakhmut city itself, the information previously we have was that the Russian forces have crossed over in this area to try to create a bridgehead. This attempt has been eliminated tentatively. It seems like the Ukrainian forces have taken back this position, and it seems like the Russian forces is just doing a probing attack, and then they just return. Just to draw Ukrainian forces away from the front line, they have to do reinforcement. Sorry, wrong color. They have to do reinforcement to this area from the front lines to try to deal with this possible breakthrough, and this actually will draw Ukrainian forces away from the front line. And this at the same time, the Russian forces is actually pushing, and they managed to have a further breakthrough in this area here. So let me zoom in closer. The Russian forces, previously the line was like this. They are now like this. Yeah, they have a move forward within around 2 streets, and this information is corroborated by Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source. The information here is coming from SITREP maps, and it does feels like SITREP maps might reference the Deep State UA map quite a bit, because the information seems to corroborate, like it seems to be reflected on Deep State UA's map. So not sure how he do this mapping, but yeah, that seems to be the case. So that's all. I think that's all from the Bakhmut front. And moving on to the next important region is actually at the Avdiivka Front. So Avdiivka city is actually over here north of Donetsk city, or the city of donuts. I'm not sure you can find donuts there or not. I think so. And the breakthrough in the north continues, with the Russian forces continue to be fighting at Krasnohorivka. They also expanded their lines in between Kupyansk and Krasnohorivka, and fighting continues to be reported at Kupyansk. This fighting is reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, SITREP maps, and at Krasnohorivka by Ryba and Ukrainian Defense Ministry. The pro-Russian source information on the situation at Krasnohorivka is as such. They say that the Russian forces has attacked the fortified area in Krasnohorivka, and they managed to enter the village and have a foothold in the eastern outskirts, which is exactly what is happening currently, with the Russian forces managed to entrench themselves over in this area here. And their fighting is currently ongoing on the central and the western part of Krasnohorivka. And Ryba also make it a point to debunk some pro-Russian sources assertion that Krasnohorivka has fallen to the Russian forces. This is not true. This is also not corroborated by pro-Ukrainian sources, pro-Russian sources, there is all, Ryba, Deep State UA, Surya Maps, all these trusted primary sources all have not reported as such. So the information of Krasnoorivka falling is definitely not true. And so on the other side of the front line of at the Avdiivka Front, the Ukrainian forces are suffering attack at Develske, Pervomayske, at Vodian, Avdiivka, and Zheveny. All information is coming from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Some of it is also reported by other pro-Russian sources, but since it's already indicated on the map, there's nothing much to add. So the information here is all from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So as you can see, the fighting continues to be in all directions, and this is deliberately, I guess, to stretch the Ukrainian forces across a very long front line, because tentatively it seems like the Russians have numerical superiority in this region here. If not, they have very similar numbers, and this, given that the fact that the Russians actually have more ammunition, heavy equipments, and artillery shells, this actually makes the fighting actually much harder for the Ukrainian side. And according to pro-Russian sources as well, I think it's pro-Ukrainian or pro-Russians, I cannot remember, there's intel suggesting that the reason why there is this breakthrough by the Russians around the Avdiivka region is because that the mobilized forces is now being deployed in this front line. Previously, the front line here is meant by the Donbas militia, specifically the Donetsk People's Republic militia, and they are now being taken over by the Russian military, and the Russian military have injected their mobilized forces in this area, causing overwhelming numbers on the Ukrainian side. And on top of that, the Russian forces seems to be also deploying very heavy weapons and heavy airstrikes in this region, particularly in the region of Avdiivka, where the Ukrainians have a strong front line or entrenched position around this industrial area, the coke plant. And this coke plant don't make Coca-Cola. I just want to tell you, if Coca-Cola looks like made in this kind of plant, I will stop drinking it. And the Russian forces have been bombarding the plant and entrenched positions around here with very, very heavy bombs. And some of these bombs are never seen before. They are installed with glider, kind of detachment, which allows the bomb to be either more accurate or can be thrown off the plane in the longer distance. Personally, I do not know that much into the details of this kind of munition, but 500-pound bombs or 1,500-pound bombs, there are rumors are 500, sometimes they say 1,500, and these kind of bombs create a very huge explosion that can basically take out an entire bunker. So even you are entrenched underground with reinforced concrete, that would be no use against such bombs, which also emphasize the importance of airstrikes, which the Russians have not been using a lot until over the past few months. So now they are escalating. Let's see whether this actually makes a difference on the front line. And moving on, the third biggest front in the fighting is actually around Kreminna. So at the Kreminna front, the Russian forces continue to be attacking within the Serebyansky forestry, as well as further up north in the area of Sheveno-Popivka and Nevsky region. So let's go into details. We have fighting reported in the Serebyansky forestry by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. They also reported fighting near Kreminna. This information is always very weird to me because Kreminna is actually pretty far away now. It's like 5 kilometers away. And there's no fighting reported near Kuzmini, but there is fighting reported near Dibrova, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry and Deep State UA. So the fighting within the forestry continues to be very in flux. The front line is very hard to determine, but according to Deep State UA's mapping and my understanding so far from geolocations, it looks a bit like this. And in the other northern part, the Russian Defense Ministry reported shelling at Yampolivka, Terny, and near Ploshchanka. And the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported fighting near Sheveno-Popivka, Nevsky, and Ploshchanka and Ploshchanka is reported by Deep State UA. So in the northern part, the Russian forces continue to be pushing in this area, in these directions, and they bombard Ukrainian positions in this area. Russian forces actually do have this salience around here, and the Russian forces currently trying to straighten the line, which is why we are seeing all this fighting in this area. Yes, they are trying to push, straighten the line, and perhaps then they can actually move into the other side of the Zaporizhzhia river, which is actually this river here, Zaporizhzhia river. So this is currently happening in the Kreminna Front. Just south of Kreminna Front is the Siversk Front. We have fighting reported at Vrozolivka, reported by Myro Shenikov, the pro-Ukrainian source. There is a geolocation by Deep State UA at this position, just off Vrozolivka. This direction is just merely 1 kilometer away. Between the entrenched position and the town is merely farmland. There's nothing here. It's just farmland. So this is as close as the Russians can get without storming the town itself. And over at Vuhledar, we do see fighting being reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry at this position, and also at Orikhovo-Vasylivka. In terms of details, we do not have it. And shelling is being reported at Orikhovo-Vasylivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. I suspect that the river crossing by the Ukrainians, they did do a pontoon crossing around this region here. And exact location, I'm not so sure. And some of this bombardment might be relating to Ukrainian forces gathering in Orikhovo-Vasylivka to be sent across into the Serebranski forestry to reinforce. So that might suggest the reason why there is all this bombardment at Orikhovo-Vasylivka. And away from Orikhovo-Vasylivka, we have a situation at Vuhledar region. Fighting is being reported at Vuhledar by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, but I'm not sure exactly where the fighting is. The Russian Defense Ministry simply mentioned bombardment across the entire Vuhledar line at Vuhledar, Prashestivka, and Zolotanaiva, which is the entire line of defense of the Ukrainian forces. It seems like the Russians still are not exactly keen on moving into this region. Perhaps the entrenchment is just too heavy for the Russian forces to break, or the commander here is shit. And the Ukrainian forces reportedly have a counterattack in this Novo-Mikhailivka region, reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. And then in the north of it, Marinka continued to see fighting along with Vuhledar. So there's nothing much to report about. This is like a broken record of Russian forces attacking. Oh, wrong color. Russian forces attacking, and then they cannot break through. Then the Ukrainians counterattack, and then after that nobody know what the hell is happening. So moving away into the Zaporizhzhia region, we have Mi-8, Ukrainian Mi-8 shot down over Temirivka, very close to the Russian lines around at Novodarivka and Rivnopil. The Ukrainian forces also conducted their attack at Levadne and Marfopil. This information is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry, as they reported Ukrainian forces attacking around this region. The attacking force doesn't seem to be very huge, so which is why the Russian Defense Ministry reported it as a DRG attack. So maybe they are just probing to see where the Russian lines are. This is Levadne, a little town, nothing much there, and Mofopil is this town here, just off the major important town of Huyaipo or Huyaipole. And that's all from the Zaporizhzhia line. Moving up to the Kupyansk Front and the Svatove region. At the Svatove region, we also see the Ukrainians launching counter-offensive in this area here. Reported by the Russian Defense Ministry at Berestove and Semekhivka, the Ukrainian forces are trying to push back the Russian forces in this area. This area previously see fighting by the Russian side, and so maybe this is a counter-offensive to recapture lost positions. And as you can see, the day before, it was reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry that Semekhivka was attacked by the Russian Defense Ministry. Bombardment is reported at Novoselivske, and according to the Russian Defense Ministry, shelling here. So maybe there might be a push here, but it was eliminated by the shelling. As a result, they didn't really report the attack over here. And over in the Kupyansk front, we have an update in terms of the front line. I have referenced the Deep State UA's mapping. The Ukrainian lines currently looks like this. All along this major road. As you can see, there's this road moving all the way through Vyshena, all the way to Prashot-Trefneve. So the Russian forces seems to be entrenched along this line here, and this is exactly where Deep State UA actually maps the mapping. So this is yeah, it looks a bit more cleaner in this way, and seems to make a lot of sense. Shelling is being reported near Prashot-Trefneve. The Russian Defense Ministry reported that they are shelling Ukrainian positions near this town of Prashot-Trefneve. And over at the area around Sinkivka, Kreminna region, the Ukrainian forces also counterattack at Sinkivka and Liman Pershi. So the Ukrainian forces are attacking in this area here. And there is bombardment reported at Mesivivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And the Russian forces reportedly is attacking in Voronezh region, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, which is kind of weird because there is a river, Oskil River, around here. So for them to attack Voronezh means they have to cross the river. I'm not sure if this is the case. I haven't seen any sources saying that the Russians actually have a pontoon crossing anywhere around here that allows them to cross over and attack. The Russian Defense Ministry simply reported shelling at Voronezh. So if they are just shelling, this is not exactly attacking, and it's not exactly an offensive operation like what the Ukrainian Defense Ministry seems to suggest. There is also a Ukrainian Mi-8 shot down over Voronezh, unfortunately, and the Ukrainians really have a lot of these helicopters. There have been so many shutdowns of these helicopters. My understanding is around maybe 200-300 of them, or 400, 500. I'm not sure, because they have a lot of Soviet era Mi-8 they can actually revive to use. And I believe I've covered everything. So no, yeah, I think I covered everything. So this is the summary for the day of 382 for the 12th of March. Press the like button, and do share your comments below. I try to read them as much as I can. I can't read everything, but do engage with the rest of the DPA community. Especially if you are new, do subscribe. And especially if you are new and you do not have never heard of DPA before, do check out the main channel, Defense Politics Asia. So youtube.com/ @Defense Politics Asia. Do check it out. That's the main channel. This is the secondary channel, the DPA war channel, where we do the SITREP every day. The SITREP used to be reported on the main channel. So anyway, thank you for watching, and do check out the open mic. Yesterday we broke record. We finally reached 6-hour mark. Freaking hell, that was so long. But it was so good. The conversations by the members of the DPA community, you guys, the viewers, is so good that it's just so difficult to stop the conversation. So do check it out, and I'll see you in the next update.